Today's episode of the More You Know podcast features David Burkus, who's a leadership and innovation professor, best-selling author, and speaker who has a TED Talk with over 1 million views and is also a regular contributor to the Harvard Business Review, as well as Aaron Platt, who's a co-founder and the president of SocialX, which is the #1 business education and networking mastermind for young entrepreneurs, as well as the founder of VA Connections and Social Summit Inc. And lastly, Dr. Mark T. Wade, who's the founder of the American Posture Institute, Hustle and Scale, and Virtual Summit Software. I ask each of them what their best piece of networking advice is. Enjoy the episode.
Redefine networking. I mean, for starters, we know that networking is not something you do only when you're meeting strangers. It's also a part of how you continue and maintain relationships. And one of the most overlooked parts of your network are what we call weak ties or dormant ties. People you know, but you don't know that well, or people that you know, but you haven't talked to in a really long time. And reaching back out to those weak and dormant ties can be one of the most powerful ways to unlock new information, new opportunities, new potential introductions, the same things you would need from strangers, new and different information. Weak ties and dormant ties are just as likely to have, but you don't have to hit up all those cocktail parties that feel awkward. You don't have to establish rapport. You already know these people. So the best piece of networking advice for most people is to reach back out to those weak and dormant ties first before you spend all that money to go to that conference or spend all that time to go to all of those meetups. Most of the time, the people that you need to get connected to are already part of your hidden network, your weak and dormant ties, or those people who are 1 degree of separation, 1 introduction away from those weak and dormant ties. So start there. If you still want to go to the event, great, but you probably don't need to.
2 different pieces of advice. 1, if you can set a call a day with somebody you don't know or somebody in business that you think is credible or something along those lines, I think meeting new people every single day should be something that you set to do. Every single day you should have a call with somebody, especially when you're getting started. That's how you're going to be able to meet a lot of new people. And I think a big thing about networking is just getting around the right individuals. So if you're on social media, if you have a business, if you're trying to get into business, go on social media, start shooting people DMs, see what you can do for them before you ask for anything from them. Talk to them, message them, get in front of them in a different way. Don't just go after them and ask them for help and ask them for things. You need to give value before you receive value. That's going to be a whole different change, if you're going to somebody who's bigger than you or somebody who's more successful and you offer not advice, but value before you ask for anything in return. It's going to be a huge game changer. You're going to be able to open doors a lot quicker. And overall, they're going to appreciate you more. So they're going to be more willing to work with you and introduce you to new people, etc. So if you're trying to get in front of somebody or work with somebody, see what you can do for them first before you ask them any questions, before you ask them for help in anything. Second, if you're at an event, I think a lot of people go to events with big groups of people and then they never actually end up working or talking to other people. And I think a lot of the times too is everyone's so focused on the people on stage, they don't realize that they're sitting next to 30 people that could help improve their business or could even be potential clients. So whenever you're at an event or you're at some kind of mixer or anything where there's a lot of people around, especially at conferences, try and break off by yourself, try and go shake new hands, and always set another date to follow up if that person is interesting to you. So before you leave that conversation, set a time, set a call, book it in your calendar, make sure you do it in front of them so you have that next follow-up conversation so they remember who you are. Another thing is make yourself memorable. When you shake their hand, don't just go straight into business. Try and find common ground and figure out if there is anything that you guys have synergies on, then set the call. So I think it's really important to go off by yourself to break out from the people that you go there with. And also don't just be looking at the big stars on the stage. Listen to them and listen to what they have to say. But the most important thing about these events is the people that you're sitting with. Because those are the people you're going to be able to work with. Those are the people that are going to want to talk to you. Those are the potential clients. So break off from your circle, shake a lot of hands, set appointments in person, and find common ground with all those people.
When it comes to networking, I mean, I use the word networking all the time. One of my core values is your net worth depends on your network. But I know some people are starting to field the word networking almost kind of like affiliate marketing. It has like almost a little bit of a negative twang to it. Not that it should, but what I look at networking as is relationship building. So if you go into every single essentially new relationship or new person or somebody you're trying to build a relationship with and actually look at it as a relationship versus like, what am I trying to get out of this? It's going to increase your networking opportunities and ability tenfold. Now, on top of that, most people, when they're thinking about networking, they're thinking about networking up. They're trying to build a relationship with somebody that is either a little further along than them, a little higher stature, or success. Now, when it comes to doing that, one of the worst things you can do is put yourself in the student role. And what I mean by that is when you go up and meet the person, the first thing you want to do is say, "Oh, I'm a big fan," or "I love your work, how you did this," or "This really helped me." Or you want to ask them a question about what it is they do. "Oh, can you, I've been wanting to ask you about X." And the reason is we think that we're talking about the topic that they're most passionate about because it is what they're known for. And they'll be more than happy to talk to you about that. However, when you do that, you're actually putting yourself in the student role. And so again, they're going to talk to you about it, but they're going to now go, "Okay, I'm teacher, you're student." And it's going to be very difficult for you to move yourself out of that. And so as we know, teacher student, you're never going to be at that same level, which is going to be hard to have that kind of networking or peer-to-peer relationship. So the best thing, one of my best pieces of advice when you're trying to network with somebody above you or up, is to find out what they're passionate about, what a hobby or other thing outside of work. First off, they're always being asked about that, right? Like that's nonstop. If you find something that they have a hobby or a passion in and you talk to them about that, you ask them about that, now it's not student teacher role. It's now we're at the same level talking about something we're both passionate about. Like I'm a scuba diver. So if you come up and talk to me about scuba diving and you say, "Oh, I heard this place is great," or "I recommend you go here," or "I've dove here." Now I'm not above you or below you. We're equals talking about something we're passionate about. And here's just another insider tip with that. People like to talk about themselves. Gurus, influencers, the same. Like if you give them the opportunity to talk about themselves and you listen to them and it's on a topic other than the business, it's about something they're passionate or interested in. Again, people like, the saying, like people forget what you say, what you do, but they remember how you make them feel. People feel good when they get to talk about themselves. So if you connect with them on something they're passionate about or a hobby outside of work and let them tell you all the information and then connect with them on that, that's one of the best ways to establish a relationship with somebody that's of any stature, but especially somebody that's above you.
I'm just trying to make it all make sense.
The
More
You
No
Podcast.